All right, ladies and gentlemen, Rafi Chaudhry here, signing in from rafichaudhry.com. Drinking some orange juice. Yummy. So today's topic is going to be PR, misconceptions in PR, and things that PR agencies don't want you to know. And there are several reasons for some of these things and why they don't want you to know it, and why these are commonly common things that are misconceptions essentially. So misconception number one about PR that I run across most of the time is that people tend to think that just because your company is amazing, you guys have done $10 million in sales this year and you've risen from point A to point B, or your success or the product that you're selling is enough to get you PR and get you covered in large publications. That's not the case, because PR, like these major publications don't really care so much for what kind of numbers that you're generating. They don't really care for your product. For the most part, what they're interested in are stories, right? Stories that are actually, that follow some of these successes or your product or something like that that you're actually wanting to put out there. So my recommendation is that instead of talking about your success and like exact numbers that you guys have done or what your company, your product can do, talk about like stories behind it. Like, how did you come up with the idea for the product? How did it start? How did you guys build your company? What's how did the company start? What's the stories of the founders? Like, how did they find the company? How did you guys grow it? Share some tips maybe and hints. Like someone can learn from like how you took your company or your product from point A to point B. But no matter how you look at it, you have to paint a story. When you pitch to major publications, they want to know stories. They're not really interested in your business per se, like, like exactly like what you're selling, but they're very interested in some sort of a story behind it, because that's what resonates with the audience of these major publications. They're there to tell a story, and their job is to try to educate the millions of viewers and the readers that read these publications and trust these publications. So biggest misconception is I see a lot of people just like, oh yeah, we're just building the most amazing thing that's going to revolutionize the industry. Amazing, great. Talk about how it's going to revolutionize the industry, and talk about why that's a unique story, and how did you guys come up with the idea, and like how did you do it? Just build a story around the entire concept, instead of just saying like your product can do X, Y, Z. It's going to do, yeah, but build a solid story around it. That's newsworthy, that's going to paint an interesting picture. It's going to put it's going to present your company, your business, and your success in a really interesting way. And then you can talk about your success and your exact milestones and revenues and things like that within that, within the context of that story. But you got to ultimately take a unique approach to your brand and how you built what you built by telling a story. Another misconception that I tend to see a lot is people think like just because you get press coverage, automatically it's gonna like skyrocket your business. You're gonna like take off, your company's gonna take off, you guys are gonna do millions of dollars in sales because you got featured in Bloomberg and Forbes, and you're the front page of BuzzFeed. It can happen. I'm not gonna say like there aren't companies in history that have, that have not achieved things like that. But it's not very likely that's going to be happening all the time. And that's simply the reason is because there are plenty of companies and plenty of businesses that get featured like that. But if you don't know how to like actually sell to your audience and to get them to buy something from you, sort of like take them through a customer journey from when they first hear about you or see a news update about you or something like that, like a Facebook ad maybe, to the point where they're actually purchasing your product or your service. If you don't know how to walk them through that process, or if you have some sort of a problem in between, there could be a disconnection. And even though you may get tons of traffic, tons of coverage, tons of credibility, you may not make a single sale. You may not get any new clients or customers, simply because there is a link that's broken between when someone finds you via, let's just say, PR, like an article or an ad, and when someone actually wants to purchase your product or your service. So like maybe an example could be like, let's just say you get featured on like, I don't know, Vogue magazine, right, or something like that. And what happens is people come to your website and it's really hard to navigate the website, or they're not able to find like where your shopping cart is, maybe, right? So they can't even check out and buy the product. So those kind of things can really throw off your sales. And it doesn't matter how good your PR game might be or what kind of place you've been featured. If you have that sort of like drop off, you're just not going to be able to do well. So before you reach out to PR agencies and large publications and really get that feature and the mention and the traffic, think about how you're going to, you know, as people come into your store, whether it's brick and mortar or online, think about how you're going to be actually able to convert that visitor into a customer. Because without the conversions and the funnels and the customer journeys in place, the traffic is not really going to do you any good if they're not actually purchasing something from you, if they're not actually filling out a form and giving you their name and their email address and their phone number and things like that. You have no way to, you know, do anything with that traffic, and the audience members, you know, it's not going to resonate with them. So my recommendation there is that think about like where do you want to send that traffic? Like what micro actions do you want them to take after they've seen your like your PR feature or somewhere, or they've maybe like you ran a Facebook ad to it, right? Don't just send them to a random like your homepage of your website, but rather maybe like create a landing page on your website or some sort of a journey. Some people may refer to these as like funnels, basically that kind of takes them step by step through the actions that you want them to take once they get to your website. And if you do that, your PR work is going to be a lot more meaningful, and it'll actually make sense, and you can actually see a positive ROI in your business from doing it like this versus just putting your website URL, taking them to the home page, and once they get there, they just have no clue what your website is about, what you do, what you sell. You're not kind of leading them. And the thing is that people on the internet don't have a lot of they don't have a lot of time. Like if something is broken and they can't figure out what your website is about, they're just gonna leave, you know? So you got to convert them right away on that page, and your goal of that page should be to take them to the next page, to the next page, you know, and whatever your calls to action might be, it has to be very, very clear, very clear cut, and you need to actually, you know, convert them in one way, shape, or form. I'm not saying conversion always means sales, but it could be like you get their email address. It could be something like you get them to take a survey. It could be something like you get them to visit a certain page and like click somewhere, you know, on that page. Whatever your conversion might be, you should be seeing some conversions or setting those structures up so that once you get some traffic, some good coverage from PR, it actually converts into something that's, you know, concrete and actionable for your business. Another misconception that I see commonly with the PR game is that people think that like PR, you know, like I guess it's not a misconception, but it's more like I guess like a benefit of PR. It is important. Like a lot of people don't think it can do anything for them. They're like, well, I mean, what's this gonna do for me, you know? But if the reality is that, you know, getting featured and getting press coverage in a large publication helps you because millions of people trust these publications. It's kind of like an endorsement that you get, and it's there for life. Like if you've been featured in Inc. magazine, doesn't matter. It was like 10 years ago, 3 years ago. You can always put that sticker and that logo and that email signature in your, you know, company's email saying that you've been featured there, and link to that article if it still exists. And so it's something that never goes away. So that's the value of you know, getting press coverage, is that it tends to stick around and kind of gives you credibility time and time again. And whether you like to believe it or not, people take these publications very, very seriously. They're trusted news sources. They create amazing information. They tell stories, and people take it seriously. So when they see your name, your brand name associated with some of these major sites, you're automatically taken seriously. You know, it's kind of like in psychology, we have this phenomenon called the halo effect. Just because you dress well, you look good, you sound smart, people automatically assume other good things about you. Well, I mean, she looks good, so she must also be smart at that, you know? So it's just kind of like the association automatically kind of puts you, you know, at a stage, at a kind of like acts as a filter and sets you apart from your competition. And you can think about it like, oh, well, you know, anybody can pay for PR and get pension there. First of all, that's not true. You couldn't just pay for it and get there, because very, very complicated. Whether you work with an agency or you pitch these publications yourself, it's not easy. I by no means think it's just very easy to get anywhere, really. But at the same time, if you think about it this way, you know, like even just getting featured there, you have to have one of two things. You either have to be really, really good at what you do enough to where you naturally and organically got picked up by publication, or you have to be generating enough revenue that you can pay someone to have you featured in some of these major publications. And no matter which route you take, whether you work with an agency or you work by yourself, it's still a filter that kind of sets you apart from your competition. And when you pitch to your clients, your audience and customers, they're automatically going to know that either your agency is doing well enough that you can hire a PR firm and get these things happening, or you're just so good at what you do that you organically got these features and mentions and got quoted everywhere. So however way you look at it, it does set you apart from your audience. I've seen it in my business personally. Of course, I run a PR agency, so you know, obviously I'm gonna see it in my business, but I've seen tons of my friends that run various types of businesses, and PR has definitely helped them in achieving the credibility that they need to get to the next level. So the common misconception here is that don't think that PR is not going to help your business because it doesn't mean anything and anybody can do it. Those are two huge misconceptions. It does mean something. It does make you stand apart from your competitors. And two, anybody cannot do it. I couldn't just take someone, you know, who works, I don't know, like as a cashier at McDonald's and say, well, yeah, here, you know, here you go, Bloomberg, perfect candidate for you guys to feature. He may not have any story to tell. You know, you got to have a creative story. You have to have something that you're doing that's noteworthy in order for us as an agency to be able to pitch what you're doing as a noteworthy story to one of these major news outlets. And if you're not doing something cool and creative, and your reputation isn't there, it doesn't matter how much money you have and how much money you pay to us or any agency, anybody out there. It's not going to get you the results that you're looking for. So my, you know, overall, what I encourage you guys to do is just try to think about PR as if like you're a reporter or an audience. You know, just see it from the perspective of the actual publication. Like, what's their actual goal? They're trying to create a great user experience. They're trying to educate their audience. They're trying to tell stories and make their job easier by creating the story, like writing it out, kind of talking about your success, but telling it through a story. Like, you have to get really, really good at storytelling if you really want to leverage press coverage, whether you do it through an agency like ours, or you do it by pitching yourself, or you know journalists and editors that you contact directly. You're still going to have to be a really good storyteller. And until you can do that, it'll be very tricky, I think, to pitch anywhere, anything. I encourage you to tell stories by creating amazing content, writing out your success, you know, your company's milestones in a story format. And I definitely encourage you guys to obviously take PR as a very serious thing, because it is serious, and it's a credibility that stands around, you know, stays with you for a long period of time. But overall, just you know, always stay connected. I think it's, in general, it's a good idea to stay connected with your audience and to educate them. If you're constantly educating your audience and you're sharing, like, you know, what you guys are up to, what you're learning, and you do this consistently over a period of time, you will become an expert in your space. And major news outlets will just organically pick you up just because you're so well known and you've helped so many people for such a long period of time that you're naturally going to start getting quoted and mentioned in various outlets. And if you don't, hit me up. I'll definitely help you guys with it. Thanks so much. Enjoyed chatting with you guys. And I enjoyed the comments. Harman says hi. Hello, Harman. See you guys soon. Thank you.